Carl Jung's concept of the shadow explores the hidden parts of our psyche, those emotions, desires, and traits we suppress because they don't align with the image we want to present to the world. Society conditions us to reject emotions like anger, jealousy, and insecurity, labeling them as undesirable. However, these feelings don't disappear. Instead, they become part of our unconscious mind, silently influencing our thoughts, decisions, and relationships. Jung believed that failing to acknowledge and integrate the shadow leads to emotional outbursts, self-sabotage, and unconscious behaviors that control us without our awareness. The shadow operates beneath the surface, dictating reactions and choices in ways we may not fully understand. This is why people often find themselves trapped in toxic relationships, destructive habits, or irrational fears, unable to break free. Shadow work, the process of bringing these suppressed aspects into conscious awareness, is the key to self-mastery. By confronting the shadow, we begin to understand our triggers, heal emotional wounds, and regain control over our lives. Instead of being controlled by unconscious fears, we learn to work with them, leading to greater emotional resilience, authenticity, and inner peace. True transformation begins when we stop running from the darkness within. From an early age, we are taught which emotions are acceptable and which must be suppressed. Society encourages us to express happiness, kindness, and patience. But emotions like anger, jealousy, insecurity, or fear are often met with shame. Over time, we learn to push these feelings deep into our unconscious mind, pretending they don't exist. But suppression does not equal elimination. These emotions do not disappear. Instead, they manifest in ways we struggle to understand. Through irrational outbursts, unhealthy coping mechanisms, self-sabotage, and toxic relationships. We find ourselves reacting strongly to minor situations, getting defensive, or feeling an unexplained sadness that lingers beneath the surface. This is the power of the shadow, the hidden force that shapes our thoughts, behaviors, and interactions without our conscious awareness. When left unacknowledged, it controls us in subtle yet destructive ways. Have you ever found yourself lashing out in anger and wondering why? Or repeatedly falling into the same patterns of self-doubt and fear? These are signs that your repressed emotions are fighting to be recognized. The shadow does not want to destroy you. It simply seeks integration. It is not the enemy. It is a part of you that longs to be understood. Facing the shadow is uncomfortable, but necessary. The more we deny it, the stronger it becomes. The only way to free ourselves from its influence is to acknowledge it. Why am I so triggered by this situation? What am I avoiding? What am I afraid to admit to myself? These are the questions that open the door to self-awareness. True healing begins when we stop running from our fears and start listening to what they are trying to teach us. Only by embracing the darkness within can we step into the fullness of who we truly are, without fear, without shame, and without limitations. People rarely say exactly what they feel. They smile when they don't mean it, offer compliments laced with hidden resentment, and disguise hostility behind polite words. But no matter how well someone hides their true emotions, the unconscious mind always finds a way to reveal the truth. A fleeting glare, a forced laugh, a momentary flash of contempt. These subtle cues expose what words try to conceal. The human mind is a master of deception, but the body tells a different story. This is why recognizing hidden resentment and manipulation is crucial. Some of the most dangerous people in our lives are not those who openly despise us, but those who pretend to be allies while secretly undermining us. Their hostility seeps out in small, almost imperceptible ways. A passive-aggressive comment disguised as humor, a backhanded compliment, or convenient forgetfulness when it comes to supporting us. They act as if they mean well, yet something about their energy feels off. We sense it, even if we can't explain why. Worse still, many of these individuals don't even realize their own resentment. The shadow, Carl Jung's concept of the unconscious self, works beneath the surface, shaping behavior without conscious awareness. A person who secretly envies you may convince themselves that they are simply giving constructive criticism. Someone who feels inferior may project their insecurities onto you, calling you arrogant or undeserving. This is psychological projection at work. When individuals cannot face their own weaknesses, they externalize them onto others. The key to protecting yourself from hidden resentment is awareness. Pay attention not just to words, but to body language, micro-expressions, and tone of voice. Do they celebrate your success, or do they seem tense when you achieve something? Do they offer help only to later withdraw it? Do they make you feel subtly inadequate, as if your victories are undeserved? These signs matter. But awareness is not just about spotting deception in others. It's also about confronting it within yourself. Have you ever felt jealousy but convinced yourself it was something else? Have you ever downplayed someone's achievements to make yourself feel better? We all have a shadow, and the more we deny it, the more it controls us. The only way to break free from unconscious resentment, whether our own or someone else's, is to acknowledge it, face it, and strip it of its power. Only then can we truly see the world and ourselves as we are. Emotional triggers are not random. They are not just moments of irritation or overreaction. They are messages from the unconscious, revealing wounds that have yet to heal. When something or someone provokes a strong emotional reaction, it is rarely about the present moment. It is about the past, about the experiences that shaped us, about the pain we buried deep inside. The intensity of a trigger is not caused by the situation itself, but by the emotions we have suppressed for years. Think about a time when someone's words cut deeper than they should have. Maybe a simple comment about your work, your appearance, or your intelligence left you feeling defensive or even enraged. Why? Because somewhere in your past, perhaps as a child or in a painful relationship, you were made to feel insufficient, unseen, or unworthy. That moment of criticism did not create the wound. It merely exposed one that was already there. This is why self-awareness is the key to breaking free. Instead of reacting blindly, ask yourself, why does this situation affect me so much? What old pain is being triggered? What belief about myself is this moment reflecting back to me? The trigger is not the enemy. It is the gateway to healing. It is showing you where you still need to grow, what still needs to be acknowledged, and what part of you is still longing for validation. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions, allowing past wounds to dictate their reactions. But those who learn to observe rather than react reclaim their power. Every trigger is an opportunity to look inward, to uncover the truth, and to finally release the pain that has been silently shaping their lives. The question is, will you face it or will you keep running? Shadow work is not about becoming someone new. It's about finally meeting the parts of yourself you've spent a lifetime avoiding. It is the process of turning toward the emotions you have buried, the pain you have denied, and the truths you have refused to face. Most people live in avoidance, running from their wounds, numbing their fears, and pretending their darkness does not exist. But what we resist does not disappear. It controls us from the shadows, shaping our thoughts, behaviors, and relationships in ways we don't understand. Have you ever wondered why you react so intensely to certain situations? Why the same painful patterns seem to repeat in your life? Why you struggle with self-sabotage, fear, or a deep sense of inadequacy? These are not coincidences. These are echoes from the unconscious, signals that something within you is still unresolved. Shadow work is about bringing those hidden parts into the light, acknowledging them, understanding them, and integrating them into your conscious self. It is not about judgment. It is about acceptance. The process is not easy. It requires looking in the mirror and seeing yourself fully, without illusion or denial. It requires sitting with discomfort, with old wounds, with truths that may shake you. But this is where healing happens. When you stop running, when you turn inward and listen, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of your past and start becoming the creator of your future. Shadow work is the path to self-mastery, to freedom, to wholeness. Because only when you embrace your darkness can you truly step into your light. The real question is, are you ready to face yourself? Self-sabotage is not a lack of willpower. It is the unconscious mind protecting itself from change. Many people unknowingly sabotage their own success, relationships, and happiness, trapped by deep-seated fears and limiting beliefs they have never confronted. They procrastinate on opportunities, push away people who care about them, or convince themselves they are not worthy of success. These behaviors are not random. They are the result of an internal battle between desire and fear. Somewhere in the past, a belief was formed. I am not good enough. Maybe it came from childhood experiences, failures, or societal expectations. Over time, this belief became deeply ingrained, and now, any step toward growth feels threatening. The unconscious mind clings to familiar pain, even if it is destructive, because change feels dangerous. Shadow work is the key to breaking this cycle. It requires facing the fears and emotions we have buried, questioning the stories we tell ourselves, and rewriting the narrative. Success is not just about external effort. It is about clearing the internal resistance that holds us back. True transformation happens when we stop running from our fears and start dismantling them, one layer at a time. Transformation does not happen overnight. It is a journey, not a destination. Shadow work is not a quick fix, nor is it an easy process. It is a deep, intentional commitment to confronting the parts of ourselves we have spent years avoiding. The 30-day Shadow Work Challenge is not just an exercise in self-reflection. It is an invitation to meet yourself in ways you never have before. For years, we have been conditioned to run from discomfort, to bury our fears beneath distractions, and to silence the emotions that make us feel vulnerable. But what if, instead of running, we turned inward? What if for 30 days, we sat with our pain, our doubts, and our unspoken wounds, not to judge them, but to understand them? Imagine what could happen if, instead of suppressing our anger, we asked, "What is this anger trying to tell me?" Instead of dismissing our insecurities, we asked, "Where did this belief come from?" Each day of shadow work peels back another layer, exposing the hidden wounds that have been silently shaping our lives. Most people will never do the deep inner work required for true self-awareness. They will hear about shadow work, read about it, and perhaps even feel intrigued by the idea of confronting their unconscious mind. But when faced with the reality of what it demands, vulnerability, discomfort, and the willingness to dismantle deeply ingrained illusions, they turn away. They would rather stay in the familiar, even if it means living in cycles of self-sabotage, emotional repression, and manipulation. Why? Because shadow work is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself that you would rather ignore. The insecurities, the suppressed emotions, the painful memories that still shape your reactions and decisions. It requires you to admit that many of the struggles in your life are not just the result of external circumstances, but of the unhealed wounds you have carried for years. Most people are not ready to face this truth. It is easier to blame others, to cling to their ego, or to numb themselves with distractions. But for those who choose to do the work, the rewards are immeasurable. They learn to see themselves and others with clarity, not through the lens of denial, but with deep self-awareness. They recognize how much of their suffering was self-imposed and how much of their behavior was shaped by unconscious fears. They stop reacting impulsively to triggers because they understand where those emotions come from. They break free from manipulation because they can see through deception and hidden agendas. They step into their power because they no longer run from their truth. True transformation begins when you decide that knowing yourself is more important than staying comfortable. It begins when you stop running from pain and start asking, what is this trying to teach me? The willingness to face the unknown within themselves. Will you be one of the few who embrace this journey? Or will you remain like the majority, avoiding the mirror, fearing the truth, and never realizing the depth of your own potential? The choice is yours. Knowledge is power, but self-awareness is liberation. In a world where manipulation, hidden resentment, and psychological control are everywhere, the ability to see through illusions is a rare and invaluable skill. Most people go through life unaware of how deeply their thoughts, emotions, and decisions are shaped by unconscious fears, past conditioning, and external influences. They trust too easily, react impulsively, and allow others to dictate their reality. But once you understand how manipulation works, how power is wielded, and how the human mind operates beneath the surface, you are no longer an easy target. The truth is, those who seek control, whether in relationships, politics, or business, do not do so through brute force alone. They use subtle psychological tactics, preying on people's emotions, fears, and insecurities. A well-placed word, a carefully crafted compliment, or a slight shift in body language can be enough to sway opinions and plant seeds of doubt. The most dangerous individuals are not the ones who openly declare their intentions, but the ones who pretend to be on your side while quietly pulling the strings. Recognizing these tactics is the first step in protecting yourself. But awareness is not just about shielding yourself from external manipulation. It is about breaking free from the unconscious forces within that hold you back. How often have you doubted yourself because of someone else's influence? How many times have you abandoned your intuition to conform to the expectations of others? The deeper you dive into shadow work, the more you realize that the greatest prison is not the one society builds around you, but the one you build within your own mind. The fear of standing alone, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of stepping into your full power. These are the invisible chains that keep you bound. True personal empowerment comes from knowing yourself so well that no one can use your fears against you. It comes from recognizing when someone is playing psychological games and refusing to be a pawn. It comes from learning to trust your own instincts over the voices of manipulation and doubt. Once you gain this level of awareness, you walk through life differently. You stop reacting. You observe. You stop seeking approval. You stand firm in your truth. You stop fearing the unknown. You embrace it. The real power is not in controlling others. It is in becoming so unshakable that no one can control you. The most powerful form of freedom is self-awareness. In a world filled with hidden agendas, manipulation, and social conditioning, the ability to understand yourself, your fears, your triggers, your unconscious patterns is what sets you apart. When you recognize the tactics of deception, you stop being controlled by them. When you confront your own insecurities, no one can use them against you. Shadow work is not just about uncovering the darkness within. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself that have been buried beneath shame, doubt, and external expectations. Ask yourself, what emotions do I avoid? What beliefs hold me back? Who benefits from my silence, my fear, my hesitation? The moment you begin questioning, you take the first step toward real empowerment. The truth is, most people live on autopilot, shaped by fears they don't even realize they have. But you don't have to. Pay attention to the subtle signs, the energy behind people's words, the patterns in your own reactions, the moments when something feels off. Trust your instincts. Stand firm in your truth. And most importantly, never let the fear of your own power keep you small.